The Colorado Buffaloes have lost their third straight game. With that being said, you have to feel kind of good about this one. Let me explain why.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every single day, wherever you get your podcasts. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're really close to 8,000. Would love to get there. Let's talk about the Buffs, right? They lose, I want to say a heartbreaker in West Virginia because, I mean, it wasn't that heartbreaking. They lose another tough one, but there was some things to be positive about, and I'm going to talk about Julian Lewis because he is the things. We're going to talk about the same problems that they've been having all year long. They came back to bite them in the butt, and I'm going to talk about what needs to change in that now what section, from coaching changes to what Deion Sanders needs to improve upon in order to basically not shoot himself in the foot. Now, let's talk Juju Lewis. Probably the best quarterback performance we've seen all year, honestly. He was an absolute star, playing with confidence, playing with a demeanor that Colorado's sort of been missing all year long. It makes you wonder, why didn't Colorado play him sooner? Obviously, he didn't play well against Delaware, but that was such a screwed up situation. I don't know how anyone could have. I mean, look at Caden Salter. That was a weird situation altogether. But Colorado loses 29-22, but Julian Lewis, 22 of 35, completed 62% of his passes for nearly 300 yards, came up 1 yard short. I have 8.5 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns, and all of this was with, it looked like Colorado's offensive line from last year was out there, right? He was sacked 7 times, one of which was by the hair, and I absolutely despise that that's a thing. Like, I know it's kind of like the risk you run in football where it's like if you grow your hair out, it's part of your uniform. Didn't love the tackle, but he was sacked 7 times. But I honestly thought he was playing with a confidence, a wherewithal that we haven't seen all year. He looked very Shedeur Sanders-esque in the pocket, and even better than Shedeur Sanders at times, where Shedeur would work his way backwards. Julian Lewis is making moves and working his way upfield, right? He's working his way up the pocket in the sense to find someone downfield or maybe take off and run. He did that a few times, and he's a lot more. He's not like, he's decently quick. He's not fast, but he's quick, and he's a lot quicker than I thought he would be. And so if you're Colorado, obviously the loss sucks, right? You're no longer in bowl eligibility, barring you finish 5-7 and there's not enough 6-6 teams, and it comes down to the APR GPA sort of thing. But your bowl game hopes are done, and that's okay. It's not okay, but you don't want to hang this performance on Julian Lewis and be like, he couldn't get us to a bowl game, because I think you look at this performance and you go, okay, this guy's got the stuff, right? He is the guy to sort of lead Colorado into this next era of whatever's next. And I think if you're Deion Sanders, you have to be pleased with what you saw. I think the offensive play calling was all right. There was a lot of plays that I don't necessarily agree with. I don't love. It's 4th and short, and we're bringing everybody close to the line, making it easier for West Virginia to load the box. But Julian Lewis, I don't think enough could be said, right? Because I was kind of under the impression that he wasn't ready, simply because that's what the coaches were making us think, right? It's like, okay, we're not playing the guy, and we got Ryan Staub and Caden Salter just having a mid-off out there, but still, we're not going to turn to Julian Lewis. And it's like, at one point, I think a lot of people were starting to think, like, how far behind is this guy, right? Like, why is he struggling so much? Why can he not see the field? And I think that was, apologies to Juju, I think that was more of a coaching issue, shocker, than it was a Juju issue, right? He came in, and although it's West Virginia, and I know I did the post-game recap with AP, we had this commenter that was like, okay, let's relax, fellas. It's West Virginia. And you're right. West Virginia is not, it's not Utah's defense. It's not Oregon's defense or Texas's defense, whoever. But first career start, it's on the road, missing both starting tackles, and you're kind of a new play caller for you, I guess, because Pat Sherman had been calling plays. So it's not a new system, but new mindset on the game itself. And so I thought Julian Lewis handled everything the best he could. My favorite part, he's talking to the media after the game, and he's like, I'm not going home. Like, I'm going to go watch some film. Like, love that from the true freshman, especially on the last bye week, because Colorado's a bye next week, especially on the last bye week when you had two of your senior players, two of your better players, not seniors, but better players, miss their return time, and they get benched for that game against, who was it, Utah? If I'm not mistaken. Right, I think it was Utah. And yeah, leadership, accountability, and star power is what I saw from Julian Lewis. Now, what did I see from the rest of the Colorado team and coaches? The same thing that we've been seeing all year. Let's talk about what went wrong, who's to blame. But first, quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Well, I guess it is the weekend, actually. So it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players, they delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. For Colorado, I'm going to go with Juju Lewis. He delivered in a big way. First career start on the road, missing Jordan Seaton, missing Larry Johnson, and was just nails, making huge throws down the sideline, zipping the ball in there, avoiding the rush when he could, and was just a bright spot for a Colorado team that has had a terrible year. And just like Julian Lewis delivered for the Buffs, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So hit that subscribe button. We're really close to 8,000. That's a goal of mine to get there pretty soon, and would love for you guys to help me make that happen. Let's talk about the problems. They've been the same all year long. West Virginia, I think West Virginia, and I talked about this with Mountaineer Paul, who hosts Locked on West Virginia. They had the same 3-6 record, but they did not look 3-6 over the past 3 or 4 games, right? They kind of blasted Houston, who's a top 25 team. Scotty Fox has been a revelation at quarterback for them, true freshman. He had a pretty solid day, 17-28, a touchdown, 2 picks, which wasn't great, but used his legs effectively and sort of did his thing. But let's just go through the problems, right? Colorado gave up 200 yards, close to 200 yards rushing, 167, which isn't great. That's obviously they've been beaten up on the rushing attack all year long. And they were simply like, let's just run through it. I'll just highlight problem by problem. Defensively, they couldn't stop anybody. The one drive that really killed Colorado was West Virginia. They were, let's see, it was a 8-play, 50-yard drive where they just went run down Colorado's throats. And that made it difficult. Or I guess it was a 10-play, 57-yard drive to make it 29-19. And it was brutal, right? Because it's like, what's happening. Couldn't stop them. And couldn't stop the run to get West Virginia off the field at the end there. Another big problem, third down was horrendous for Colorado, 5 of 17. So that was tough. The run game wasn't good by any means. I think a lot of that had to do with missing Larry and Jordan. They had 51 yards on 38 attempts, 1.3 yards per play. And the biggest problem, I think, or one of the biggest problems, was Coach Prime's game management at the end there. Obviously, I don't want to say it lost them the game because they were down, but you call a timeout with 1:40-ish left on 4th and long. And I don't know if he was deciding if he wanted to go for it. I don't know. Like he was clearly in between two thoughts, and they ultimately went to kick the field goal. And after the game, he was like, yeah, I've been with Mata for his whole career. The right hash isn't his side, but we had to do it. It's like, you have to have this plan. Like, this is the part with Deion Sanders where I'm very confused at why he doesn't put the right people around him. I'll get to that a little bit later. You're going into a 3rd and down situation. If you're not telling Juju Lewis, you as a coach need to be having conversation with the play callers on the sidelines, being like, hey, if we get within, if it's 4th and 3 or whatever, And honestly, it was just one of those things where at that point you were down, I think 10 either way. So you needed a field goal. So take the field goal, then get the touchdown, right? It's as simple as that. He really do you ever say anything positive? I literally just talked about Julian Lewis and how great he was. This is the problem with Colorado right now is you're sitting at 3-7 and you can't handle constructive criticism. That is the problem. Back to what I was saying. Realistically, you kick that field goal, like you have to go into that play, that third down play with the mindset going, okay, if we don't get this, we're kicking the field goal. If we do get this, we're going to score a touchdown. Then we'll kick the field goal or score a touchdown on the next drive. Wasting the time out there basically prevented Colorado. It forced you to have to kick an onside kick. So it gave West Virginia half the field to work with rather than the entire field to try to drive down the field and score. And then it also, you stopped West Virginia twice. And I mean, it didn't matter because they didn't stop them anyway on that third down. But say you would have, West Virginia could have kind of just ran the clock out, right? You basically forced your own hand and handcuffed yourself. And it's just one of those things where it's like you have to be able to make the right decisions. So game planning, same problems. Run defense, same problems. Offensive play calling, the lack of run game continues to hurt Colorado. There was some bright runs. I liked what I saw from Jalen Miller, minus the fumble, but the same things have plagued Colorado all season long. And so I'm going to talk about what Coach Prime, can do to fix it moving forward because it's fixable. He just has to do it. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep. Mañana, tomorrow, over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. I'll be honest with you guys. First-time homeowner here, and stuff keeps breaking. The perks of being a homeowner, right? Had some plumbing issues, had to get that fixed. Had some tree issues, had some HVAC issues. I've had it all. And guess what? SupplyHouse has been there for me. I need parts fast, and they've been able to get it to me the next day. Talk about a game changer. Join the free TradeMaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Like, subscribe. We're almost at 8,000 subscribers, so that'd be really cool to get there. Let's talk about what Deion Sanders can do moving forward because you missed a bowl game that is officially out of play or out of reach. But it's one of those things where if Deion Sanders really plans to turn Colorado into a contender, there's changes that need to be made, and they're glaringly obvious every single week. So let's start off with roster building, and I'll get into this more as the season ends and as the offseason approaches. Colorado has gone all in on the transfer portal, and quite frankly, I think we could say it hasn't worked, right? You brought in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, Jimmy Horn, LeJontay Wester, BJ Green, Cam Craig, and a lot of these guys outside of BJ Green, a lot of those guys were guys you recruited anyway, which it's like you're kind of you're counterpointing your own stance on the portal is like, hey, look at what the portal brought us. It brought us Shedeur, brought us Travis, it brought us Shiloh. And it's like, did it though? Like you kind of recruited most of those guys. Anyway, Colorado is losing 38 players this offseason, guaranteed. Seniors, grad students, they're gone. So you're going to have to go to the portal again because you have a 12-man recruiting class, which is not where you want to be. I really think Colorado needs to put in a lot of effort to flip guys, find under-recruited gems, and get that number up to 20, 25. And even then, next year, they should be in the 30s for recruits. You need to stop going all in on the transfer portal. I think you're paying a lot of guys. I saw numbers the other day, which I don't know how accurate these are, but you pay guys like Caden Salter and Jaheim Otis nearly $1 million. Someone threw out the number of $800K. I don't know if that's accurate because Colorado is really good at hiding those numbers from us, you're spending, we'll call it nearly $1 million for some of these top transfers and their busts, right? Like you are not hitting on the guys that you're paying a lot of money on. And you may as well invest in guys who are here for the long run, who are here for the culture, right? I think the hard part of bringing in new transfers, and Chad Brown, Colorado legend, he's literally got pictures of him up in the facility in Boulder. He said, you have a band of mercenaries because there's guys that come in, And if things don't go their way, they don't care. And so they just kind of give up on the program, right? So Coach Prime has a bunch of guys who have given up on him and the program, and they don't care because they're counting down the days for their careers to be over, right? So moving forward, you need to take recruiting a lot more seriously. Use the portal to help build your roster, not to be your roster. So there's that. Change up how you build your roster. Up next, the coaching staff around Deion Sanders is doing him no favors, right? Pat Shurmur, atrocious this season. Brett Bartolone, I think he's doing okay. I mean, he's not lighting it up by any means. I think you have to go out and get someone who's on the up, whether it's the North Texas offensive coordinator or Old Dominion's offensive coordinator or Rashad Samples from Oregon, if he would do that, right? Rashad Samples would be not my number one pick. He's an assistant head coach. I mean, dude, he could recruit with the best of them. I don't really know what his interests are at this point. I think he probably wants a head coaching job, but you get a guy like Rashad Samples in there and he could recruit, hopefully call plays. I mean, obviously if he can't call plays, don't bring him in, but you need someone who is an offensive savant at the college level who could recruit and has an exciting offense to bring in top talents. You need a defensive coordinator. I think Robert Livingston, patience is running thin with him because, I mean, dude, like you're kind of getting cooked week in and week out. And if you're going to save Robert Livingston and be like, you know what, we just paid him a lot, then you have to blame your talent evaluators and you have to clean house in your recruiting general manager department, like get everybody out and bring in a whole new staff. And I think the best way to do this, and I've come up with this idea and I'll probably do an episode about this moving forward, is bring in Nick Saban as a consultant. Mountaineer Paul said that West Virginia used him to help build their staff. And although West Virginia is not a finished product by any means, I think they are headed in the right direction. Whereas Colorado, he needs a clean house and use Nick Saban's knowledge of the game, knowledge of college football in general, recruiting, coaching, and all that. Use that to help you put the right people around you because you need a new offensive coordinator, need a new defense coordinator, probably need a new wide receivers coach, probably need a new corners coach. And you also probably need to figure out what you're doing with the defense line because this year has been a poop show. Last but not least for Deion Sanders in terms of staffing, you need an analytics guy and a game management guy. I don't know if that's the same thing, like same person, but Deion Sanders has shown he cannot manage football games. He needs to put someone on his staff who could literally be on the sideline being like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what the analytics need to tell us, right? Or this is what the analytics are telling us. If we get this to 4th and 2, go for it. If not, we need to kick a field goal, right? Because wasting the timeout to decide, that is malpractice, honestly. And then lastly, the other thing that Deion Sanders needs to do in order to sort of right the ship is, I mean, you got to be able to build a stronger culture, right? You need to find an identity, build a culture. And I know he has this mindset of like, it doesn't matter. Guess what it does, right? Because I don't think this team had an identity at all this year. I don't think this team had a strong culture at all. And you're sitting at 3-7. And I don't know if they'll win another game, if I'm being quite honest. So those are the changes that I would make if I was Deion Sanders. I'm going to go through some comments and talk about what we discussed today. We love Juju Lewis. We do. I think if you're a Colorado fan, it's like, yes, something to look forward to this season because quite frankly, there hasn't been much, right? And I think Juju Lewis sliced and diced the defense when he was given the time. He's a confident thrower, really good arm, really, really nice touch on the deep ball. And I think he's sort of been the missing piece at quarterback that Colorado's been missing. So we do love Juju Lewis in Boulder. Let's see what else. Deion needs a mercy fire so he could get the buyout given his medical conditions. Honestly, I disagree. I think Deion Sanders, he had a rough year medically, personally, right? He had cancer, had surgery mid-year, or had cancer before the year, had blood clot surgery mid-year. I think he just needs a year or some time to recuperate and really focus on Colorado football. And I'm not saying he shouldn't focus on his health, but I think being away from the program allowed certain decisions to be made and allowed the program to sort of fall behind. Let's see. Juju going to be hitting the portal and NIL going to get paid and divorce Boulder. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a thought. He said that after the game that he's going to be back next year, kind of made it seem like he's going to be back next year. So I think Julian Lewis knows he's the face of the program. I fully expect Coach Prime to be like, hey, you are the face of the program, so please stick around. But I think if there's anything to be positive about today, it's Juju Lewis. Colorado can clearly build around him. Hopefully they make the necessary changes in the offseason. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe. We're almost at 8,000 subscribers. Would love for you guys to help me get there. Appreciate all the support that you guys give me. And I will see you guys on Monday. Hope all of you have a great and safe weekend.